Infamous projects that squandered billions, epic fails on the grandest of scales. The world's most notorious white elephants should never have left the drawing board. Monstrously expensive to build and maintain yet woefully underused. These dud projects are the ultimate architectural blunders. Stay tuned for a look at 15 of the most infamous and pricey examples in history. St. Helena Airport, $347 million. In 2010, the UK Department of International Development pumped $347 million into building an ill-advised cliff-top airport on the island of St. Helena, a remote British territory in the middle of the Atlantic, with a view to boosting the island's accessibility and untapped tourism industry. Doomed from the get-go, the UK authorities failed to take into account the dangerous wind conditions that plague St. Helena. The shear is so severe, large planes can't take off or land safely, and the airport, which was due to open last year, is effectively unusable. New South China Mall, China, $500 million. The world's largest shopping center, the New South China Mall in Dongguan, China, opened to much fanfare in 2005, completed at a cost of 2.5 billion yuan, or around $500 million when adjusted for inflation. The 9.6 million square foot ghost mall has struggled big time to attract tenants and customers. Its location hasn't helped. The mall, which features replicas of the Arc de Triomphe in Paris and Venice's St. Mark's Bell Tower, is located in a city with few affluent residents. A staggering 99% of stores were still vacant in 2008, and, even now, large sections of the mall remain unoccupied. Russky Bridge, Russia, $1 billion. You've just seen the gateway to nowhere. This bridge in eastern Russia could easily be labeled the bridge to nowhere. Crossing the eastern Bosphorus Strait, Russky Bridge connects the city of Vladivostok to the island of Russky, which has a population of just 5,000. The world's longest cable-stayed bridge was specially built in 2012 for an economic summit lasting just 2 days and cost an eye-watering $1 billion. Ridiculously oversized and underused, Russky Bridge can handle 50,000 cars a day but rarely sees anywhere near that volume of traffic. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain, $1.2 billion, an embarrassing emblem of the Spanish financial crisis. Ciudad Real Central Airport opened in 2009 at a cost of $1.2 billion. Located far from Spain's tourist destinations, this is one airport that should never have seen the light of day. Investors were sucked in by wildly over-optimistic passenger forecasts. The airport can handle up to 10 million travelers a year, but only several thousand passed through during its first year of operation. Airlines ended up pulling out, the owner went bankrupt, and the airport ceased operations in 2012. Mayawati Parks and Statues, India, $1.3 billion. As Chief Minister of India's Uttar Pradesh state during the late 90s and 2000s, rags-to-riches politician Mayawati splurged a colossal $1.3 billion on 5 parks and hundreds of monumental statues, including scores of white elephants. You couldn't make it up. Regarded by many as an obscene waste of money in a state where millions of people endure grinding poverty, the Parks and Statues project was heavily criticized by India's Auditor General and members of the country's National Congress. Ryugyong Hotel, North Korea, $1.3 billion, towering ominously above Pyongyang. The so-called Hotel of Doom is a white elephant par excellence. Since construction began in 1987, the triangular 105-story tower has swallowed up the equivalent of 2% of North Korea's entire GDP. Beset with funding and construction problems, the hotel, which has a capacity of 3,000, was officially completed in 2012 but remains unfinished, unopened and unused. Whether it will ever open to guests is anyone's guess. Olympic Stadium, Montreal, $1.4 billion. Montreal's Olympic Stadium is considered one of the world's most notorious white elephants. Following problem after problem, the stadium wasn't even finished in time for the 1976 Games, despite its massive price tag, equivalent to $1.4 billion in today's money. Work pressed on until 1987 when the roof was finally completed, and even that wasn't fit for purpose. The structure was damaged several times and a portion collapsed in 1999. The stadium has managed to attract tenants on and off over the years but hasn't had a permanent tenant since 2004, adding to its white elephant rep. Mirabel International Airport, Montreal, $1.7 billion. Staying in Montreal, Mirabel International Airport was built in 1975 as a potential replacement for Dorval Airport at a cost of $370 million, around $1.7 billion when adjusted for inflation. Like the Olympic Stadium, it turned into one big fat white elephant. Mirabel is situated an inconvenient 26 miles outside Montreal and passenger numbers suffered as a result. Airlines soon abandoned the airport for Toronto, and by the time Dorval Airport had expanded and was renamed in the early 2000s, flights to and from Mirabel had ceased. The final nail in the coffin, the terminal building was demolished in 2012. World Cup stadiums, Brazil, $3 billion. Soccer World Cup white elephants are sadly all too common, and Brazil has more than its fair share. And let's not even go into the country's abandoned Olympic venues. A total of 12 stadiums were built at a cost of $3 billion for the 2014 World Cup. Only a few years have passed since the tournament, yet most of these high-maintenance venues remain either empty and underused or have been thoughtlessly repurposed. The Estádio Nacional in the country's capital Brasilia, for instance, is currently being used as a bus depot. Palace of the Parliament, Romania, $3.9 billion. The pet project of brutal dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. The gigantic Palace of the Parliament in the Romanian capital Bucharest sprawls over millions of square feet. Swaths of the city were demolished for this wholly unnecessary project, which began in 1984. Thousands of workers died building the structure. Work continued following Ceausescu's execution in 1989, and the Palace of Parliament was eventually finished in 1997 at a total cost of $3.9 billion when adjusted for inflation. Today, only 30% of the building is in use, and the heating bill alone tops $6 million a year. Naypyidaw, Myanmar, $5 billion Australian dollars. New capital was built at a cost of $5 billion by the military dictatorship of Myanmar over a 10-year period, finishing in 2012. A vanity project of former leader then SHWE, the capital is thought to have been moved inland following the advice of an astrologer, who warned of an amphibious invasion via the former capital Yangon, which is located on the coast. Myanmar's ghost capital boasts wide boulevards, palatial villas, large public buildings, and even a safari park. The only thing it lacks is residents. While official figures put the population at 1 million, the actual number of residents is close to zero, and the city represents an appalling waste of money. UK Navy aircraft carriers, $7.8 billion. The British Navy has commissioned 2 new aircraft carriers at a combined cost of nearly $7.8 billion, more than double original estimates. The first, HMS Queen Elizabeth, launched to much fanfare in 2016. The second, HMS Prince of Wales, is still being built. However, they have been labeled a grotesque waste of money by critics. Both ships are designed to carry 40 U.S. military aircraft, but so far only 14 have been ordered, and the cost of those has spiraled too. In addition, equipment cutbacks on the carriers mean these planes cannot carry as many weapons or fly as far as originally intended, and a report claimed missiles costing a fraction of the cost of the carriers could easily disable them. UK politicians say the building of the second ship makes little sense without sufficient planes to fly from it or ships to protect it. Olympic facilities, Greece, $9 billion. Topping a roundup of expensive white elephants, Athens' Olympic facilities were such an unmitigated financial disaster. They helped bring down the entire Greek economy, which is still in crisis mode today. Flush with EU cash, the Greek government went on a crazy spending spree to prepare for the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens, spending a total of $7 billion, around $9 billion in today's money. Fast forward to 2017 and the vast majority of the venues lie empty and abandoned, while the country continues to teeter on the edge of bankruptcy.